Truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds, it takes me out of the present. New moon waxing, full moon waning, crescent. Life cycles, teammates or rivals. Soul search, dangerous, World War III, the goal's always survival. That's nature, day you're born when you meet your maker. Tears start chasing paper, burning trees or melting glaciers. But truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds, it's impossible to process, so I stay focused on my progress.
Hello. Welcome. We're back. Episode 26 of Triple Captain's podcast. And here I am, in the middle. I think that's 2 wins and a draw now in the last 3 for me. So, things are going well for me right now. Not getting carried away. Still way back, but, baby steps. Boys, baby steps. But anyway, before we get into it, like, subscribe, share, people. We appreciate all the support and love. Keep the support up. Make sure that you tick that box. We know you're watching out there, but we really appreciate those subscriptions. So please do. But let's start with my co-hosts. Hot, Ark, looking very, very stern-faced right now. What's going on? Ark, talk to me.
Yeah, all good. Been a strange old game week. There are a couple of gambles, etc., that didn't come through, which is disappointing. The curse of the fabled double game weeks, ideal time to triple captain, that kind of thing, still reigns supreme for me. But I'm sure we'll get into that at some point.
Cool. And Hearts, look, smiling as usual. What's going on?
There's nothing to smile about. FPL wise, not a great week. Obviously, a couple points behind you, maybe above the average, God knows. This season's been a poor season. Even though I'm doing okay amongst us, I'm just looking at the leagues and I'm happy. Not long left to go. And my only saving grace was my club is doing what it's meant to be doing at least, so I don't care. And I don't like the way Arsenal's been playing recently. I don't want to be where I am in FPL and my club don't do what they need to do. Because I already had my scapegoat. I don't care about FPL this season, Arsenal, blah, blah, blah. So right now, I'm not positive about anything right now. So nothing to smile about. We'll keep trying to progress in FPL and hopefully Arsenal can do what they need to do. But I'm very disappointed. And it's a very disappointing game week. 2 away games. And, Gabriel's captain, not 1 clean sheet for the so-called best defence in the league. So it's a bit disappointing.
Yeah, like you said, I think this is a very interesting game week. I think lots of people, went with the Gabriel choice, and rightly so. Obviously, Arsenal have the best defence in the league, and we'll get into it. And I guess, there's no point in wasting time, right? Let's have a look at sort of how our weeks went on. As usual, we'll go with the person that finished last, and I think that was you this week, Ark. So I think, let's break down what went right, or in your case, wrong this game week. What happened?
Arsenal happened. So with regards to my team, I'm not going to go into every single player, but ultimately I tripled up on Arsenal. Saliba was unwell for the first game, which hammered any kind of points that I could get through him. My real ceiling chase was ultimately bringing in Gyökeres and captaining him. It's interesting. For me, I feel that some of the reason that didn't go the way that it needed to was there were a couple of other injuries that I feel impact the way that Arsenal play, and therefore any kind of upside that I could get from him. That said, I doubt that I will have Gyökeres in my team for much longer or for the remainder of the season, if that makes sense. My strongest performer was Madueke and Sarr, the goalkeeper. So Sarr hauled 12 in the first game. I didn't expect him to haul much in the game against Arsenal, and I think he only got a point or something along them lines. But he done exactly what I said that he would do when I brought him in a couple of weeks ago. I said that I would be bringing him in for the volatility where he spikes, and he's done his job, I suppose. Madueke got me some points with his goal, etc. But he's definitely a minute's risk, and he was literally a time-constrained punt. So a lot of things for me to get into, and unfortunately a red arrow. This week's average was 63, and 7 points off of that. So yeah, not a good week all round for me. These things happen. Unfortunately, put my overall rank back down to a place where I don't want it to be after a good few weeks of upward trajectory. So we go again. It's not that the structure is wrong. It's more that there were some upside punts that we went for, and this is the life we live, right? When you're in this position, you have to. So I will look for some controlled upside over the next couple of weeks. I'm not looking to go into wildcard scenario yet because of what we know is coming over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, a bit of pill to swallow this week for obvious reasons. It being that Arsenal are my team, and their players are the ones that have been the stickler for me this week.
It's interesting. I mean, looking at your team, you've gone for kind of the unfashionable route of having two attackers from Arsenal, right? And obviously you got Gyökeres back in your team, who you captained. I mean, in retrospect, I mean, given that, Gyökeres minutes has been kind of an issue for a better part of the season, was that purely just like, I'm guessing it
His
was,
minutes
right?
ain't
Just
been
a
an
pure
issue for
punt.
the better part of the season. It's only been recently. But the idea was upside. If you look at what he's been doing form-wise over the past 5 games, regardless of his minutes, whether he's started or whether he's come on, he's managed to get himself some goals. So it's just one of those things. It was a calculated gamble. It didn't come off. But it is what it is.
Potts, you were second place this week. You were saying before that you wasn't really happy with your game week or how things are going. I mean, what went wrong for you this week?
Like Ark said, it was a double game week. I got no Wolves players. Wolves managed to get 1 clean sheet, and obviously they drew Arsenal 2-2, so they got goals. I had 3 Arsenal players, 2 defensive ones, no clean sheets. Rice did well for me, got me 11. Semenyo was my highest scoring player, he did his thing for me. Gay got me a clean sheet. But, in a double game week, you're expecting your Arsenal assets, especially when they got Wolves, whether it's away or not, to pick up some points. But Arsenal struggled against Wolves twice now. And to be fair, in my opinion, over the last not even a few games, it's more than a handful of games, I've seen Arsenal struggle attackingly in the final third. I always had confidence in their defence, but at the moment, I don't like the attitudes that I'm seeing. People like to say stuff about Arsenal in regards to bottling and all these other comments, but I'm just seeing mistakes that I've been seeing over the last few weeks defensively, and it's pissing me off. I don't know how much longer I can have 2 at the back for Arsenal. Obviously, we're going to be coming up to a blank game week when Arsenal don't play, and I just feel like my Arsenal players need to go as a priority.
Oh, wow.
The reality is, as confident as I am in the defence of Arsenal, I can't be blinded by my love for Arsenal. And we're doing a lot of dumb shit at the back, in my opinion. And it's not even one person, In the last game, Rayo and Gabriel were doing whatever they were doing. So, yeah. Overall, the team's performance as a whole, like I said, my Man City guys did what they needed to do for me, I guess. I was glad I didn't triple captain Gabriel like some people did. I would have been pissed if I did that. Still got all my chips. So I've still got the potential to close gaps. But its reality is just closing gaps. And now I just feel like taking risks because I don't want to captain the captain that everyone's going to have. So then if I take those risks, I might start falling further behind. And that might jeopardize my position amongst us three. But to be fair and to be completely honest, right now, I don't even know if I care about that. I just need the upside of climbing overall, and the only way I'm going to do that is by taking risks right now. So, yeah, I'm a bit I'm in a techie place right now, if I'm completely honest. And obviously, fresh off the Arsenal draw with Wolves, I at least expected. I knew Brentford would be a tough game, so I'm no fool. But I expected us to play a bit better against Wolves, and yeah, I don't know. I've only got one free change, and I'm not happy about that going into Arsenal's next game with double at the back again. As crap as I think Spurs are, I just don't trust us to keep a clean sheet, if I'm being completely honest with you. Either way, I need to look at changes going forward. I've got 7 players that are not going to be playing in the blank game week. So I've got to start somewhere. And when I'm looking at performance levels, I have to start with Arsenal. That's the reality. People could think and say what they want to say, but in reality, out of the 7 players I've got, if you look at form and what they're doing, I have to look at Arsenal. So people can think and say what they want, but realities are the realities, isn't it? The stats are the stats.
Some strong words there about Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal have been in a sort of I won't say bad run, but it's obviously been a run which has been little with draws over the last month or so. For balance, regardless of who you're playing in this league, when you're playing away games, it's always going to be tough to go to away grounds and get results and stuff. So, Wolves are the worst team in this league. You would expect Arsenal to come through the game fairly comfortably, but it is what it is. In terms of my game week, I think I was kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit with the Semenyo situation. Obviously, both of you had Semenyo. I didn't. Semenyo pocketed 14 points, which was a big blow for me because I had to sort of make that up. But, it was all, I said, in the week you missed, Hots, for me, I'm going with Rice, and my game week will hinge on him. He needs to outscore Gabriel. And from an FPL standpoint, it worked quite well for me, going with Rice as captain this game week. So I'm happy with the choice I made with going with Rice. I kind of half agree with you with the backline of Arsenal. We have made some errors recently at the back. We're still the best defence in the league, so it seems I'm a little bit less inclined to get rid of defensive assets from Arsenal because there is no other defence in this league that I really trust, per se. But clearly there might be some better value shuffling some money around and be getting someone else in defence and shifting that money elsewhere in the team, and who knows. But I'm not necessarily rushing to get rid of my Arsenal defensive assets at this point in time. Pedro done well for me again, which has been a real great move for me. I brought him in 3 weeks ago now, and each week he's done well for me. So that's been a real boost. So I've been happy with that. And I've obviously been going up against people who've had Ekatike. So that's been a win for me in that spot. So yeah, look, from an FPL standpoint, it's been a decent few weeks. Not outstanding. I haven't blown away anyone. I haven't sort of made huge dents, but the last 3 weeks I've kind of made, 3 to 7 points above the average, which, I'll take it.
Must be frustrating though, because positionally you haven't changed.
Well, yeah, I think that's the problem, right? I think that is frustrating. You're spot on.
It's about persevering with it, I guess, because all you can do is keep getting above average, and hopefully at the back end of things, it does what it needs to do for you.
I mean, I've at various stages of the season, I've tried to push hard and do various things which kind of fallen flat on my face. And the last few weeks, I've tried to go a little bit kind of rogue. Again, I think Rice was probably the slight rogue pick because I think most people went with Gabriel this game week. I know you didn't, Ark, of course, but it would have been nice for that to pay off more. I mean, obviously, I'm happy as an Arsenal fan that Gabriel got the assist because he contributes to the goal, but it is what it is. But look, we move on, and I'll take the victory all day long.
I wanted to say one thing,
Sure.
I sort of feel sorry for that decision for Ark. Not that I want him to outscore me, but I believe when he did that change, Havertz is still fit.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at how Havertz came in to the team playing in the 10 role, or whatever you want to call it, the right 8, I'm not getting into that argument now, but behind the striker, SS, whatever you want to call it, he has got the same mentality as maybe an Eze or whatever, just direct, and it was working well with Gyökeres. And if I had the opportunity, I would have done the same, but I didn't want to take a minus. So I could see the logic there. And obviously Havertz getting injured changed that. But then when you see, like I said earlier, Eze playing direct, you'd think he might start as a 10. So when he doesn't in this game, it's like it's a bit difficult because Gyökeres starts with Saka as a 10 and comes off early. So we make decisions. We're all going to make decisions. You went it for us. It was the right one. Funny enough, if I had captain Semenyo, I would have had the highest scoring captain. So it's a sod's law. It's going to be interesting running. That's for sure.
What I think it does do is we've spoken on it a couple of times, and obviously the show has tried to take a change into the full process of helping to make the quality of your decision better than what it is. And we have talked about the fact that sometimes double game weeks, etc., it's the single game week players that outscored the double game week players because of the amount of risks that you have around it. Right. So, for instance, point in case, Saliba was a mainstay, was fine. Then just randomly, he wasn't there for one game, which completely massacres what we're trying to do. Likewise, you've got things that happened with Gabriel where I remember last week we were talking and I was saying that actually Arsenal, their defensive assets are becoming more reliant on clean sheets than they are on anything else. Like, yes, the upside is there. However, if you look back at things, and I think you touched on this like about a month and a half ago, Hots, where you talked about the fact that actually things are starting to switch back over. So the midfielders and the attackers are the ones that are actually really driving that upside now. And it's not the defenders actually hitting those levels that they were. They've got a good base. So, for instance, you did get situations where Gabriel or Timber, they're getting near to DEFCONs, etc. But now really is one of those times where you have to take stock and work out, well, okay, where is the best place for me to distribute whatever not. So for those who've still got a wild card, yeah, it's going to be one of those things that you can look at. I kind of understand where you're coming from when you talk about Arsenal assets. And I think the point that's slightly missed is that you're talking about the fact you've got 7 players that you can see blanking in 31. We know there's going to be another blank as well, right? So you've got to work out what you can do. And it's just unfortunate that what you're saying is that the 7 players are all centered around those 2 teams that we know are going to blank. So you're forced to do whatever not, and it's logical to go with the place that is leaking first. Like I don't think that the City assets that you've got are creating it. I don't do a Guffs. I don't watch all the teams and then preside judgment in here on it. But it's Gay, from what I understand, like he's getting his clean sheets, he's doing what he's doing. Semenyo's doing what he's doing, and Haaland is Haaland, right? Although I have started to see that there are people that are moving away from him to switch on to a premium midfielder. But we could talk about that at another point.
Okay, so this week we're going to be sort of discussing a little bit around team value and the importance of team value. I mean, I know Hots in previous episodes you've kind of spoken a lot about how you make moves to try to get your team value, up. You think it's something that's quite important. I know that's been your philosophy for a number of years. And I guess, this section, I want to sort of deep dive into sort of the importance of team value and at what stage of the season it kind of really shows its face. So I guess, given that, you're the person that is the one that really focuses a lot on team value and making your changes early on in the season to reflect that, how important is it to you to have a high team value? Is it as important as it has been in previous years? I mean, what's your viewpoint, Hots?
Well, I think it's always good to have a good team value. Usually in the first half of the season, I will make calculated decisions to try to get people in, get the profit where I can, or get the players in that I want to keep long term. So even if it means that I need to take them out later, I've got good profit on them, just in case I need to do rebuy. It's more important in the second half of the season because that's when you're going to start doing your wild cards and thinking about bench boosts, and you're going to want to have the right amount of money to get the squad close enough to what you want. But this season has been a different season overall. And I think coming into the second half of the season, I've tried to, because not only do I, as you said, concentrate on money, but I also am willing to take minuses and I'm willing to do certain things. But I think because of the season I'm having, which has been an off season for me, I've started to be a little bit more safe in the second half of the season. So my money value is still high because of what I've done in the first half of the season. I think I've got about 106.6 or something like that. But that's probably dropped as well. But the problem is I've stopped going for players that I wanted at the expense of a minus. And looking at that, more importantly, has impacted me. I was saying to you, when you did your wildcard early, I was surprised you didn't bring in certain Chelsea assets, i.e. Enzo and João Pedro. Obviously, Enzo faded out once Palmer came back in, but João Pedro has been hitting since and hasn't stopped. There was times when I felt like, oh, you know what, I want to put Pedro in, or I'm going to put Palmer in, and I didn't. And if I did, I would have made even more money going into the end of the season. But because I didn't want to take minuses, it's impacted that money. But financially, my team's still quite strong. I think it is important to have money. Loads of different tactics go together. So my approach of being fearless in the sense of taking minuses when necessary. Some people would say, well, you can build transfers now, so why do it? But if you haven't got the transfers built, then if you want certain players, if you don't go and get them, if you believe in them, it can backfire. And that's been proven now. Because I know about the transfers you can build up, I decided, you know what, it's best that I don't just take minuses this season. It's been a different season. Maybe I need to change that approach. And the game weeks where I didn't do the minuses, funny enough, the points I would have got would have made me have more points with the minuses than without them. So that's proven to not be necessarily true. And even in the earlier parts of the season, when I did take the minuses, I got good results. So, it's been a learning curve this season where it's been a bit different. That finance is always going to be a big part of this game, regardless, because you're always going to have to get players in and out of the team. So team value is important, regardless of what FPL throws at you. But I just think that if you can get the right team from the get-go and be fortunate enough to not make many changes, then, like the people that are top in the world and stuff like that, they're not caring about team value right now. They're just trying to adjust their team where they need to adjust their team, But for people, the rest of us, the majority who's trying to gain, when it comes to using your chips, you're going to need money. So I think it's obvious that you need to have some form of money, but how you get that, it's up to the individual manager himself.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because, I think team value is something that lots of people, including myself, underrate, really. Bouncing off what you were saying there, Hots, I mean, because you are essentially chasing team value for at least the first part of the season, I'm assuming you bring...
I'm not chasing team value. That's the wrong terminology, bro. I'm just trying to make calculated decisions at the right times. So if I see so for example, I've got Mikelele from Sunderland, who was a 4 million defender. He's in my team now. I've got him in at 4. He's whatever he is. Some people have been forced to go in for the centre-back from Sunderland. I can't remember his name now. But
Adarete.
Yeah. And when they've gone for him, it's because he's cheaper than Mikelele. But he's got better upside than he has because he can get defensive contributions, he gets assists, he goes forward, he's in the wing, even though he can play centre-back sometimes. So it's not just, let me try and build money any way possible. I'm looking at the players who I think are going to achieve what I need them to achieve and make money with them at the same time, which has worked out so far. So like people like Wilson, I got early. He's dropping, but he ain't dropping enough that I won't make a profit on him. But it's not just randomly, just everyone that goes up, oh, he's going up this week, oh, it says he's going up, let me put him in. That's not what I'm telling anyone to do. So just to make that clear, I don't chase that. I just try to make money where I can.
I didn't mean in that respect. The point I was trying to make was more that if there's a player that you want to get in your team, for example, and you're set on getting that player, but you don't necessarily in a rush to get him in because there's European games midweek, for example, and maybe there's a risk of injury to said player, and it's better to wait until Friday before the actual game week starts to make sure that he's not injured. But you're obviously battling against that in terms of, well, by Friday he might go up a 0.1 or 0.2. So it's like where you find that balance, really.
In the beginning of the season, I put him in. So you're right, if that's what you mean. I'll just put him in because I have no fear at the beginning of the season. So if he gets injured, then I'll just use my bench and then just take him out the next week. So if that's what you mean, then yeah. I don't see the point in waiting till the end of the week to get an asset that's going to go up by 0.2. We've seen people like Foden go up 0.3 in the game week. So while you're waiting for players to go up, sometimes you've got to take the risks. It's just about knowing when to take the risks. Is just, at this time of the season, it's not the right time to take the risk, is what my point is. That I think the beginning of the season is when you take those sort of calculated gambles. And if they pay off, they don't, it's not detrimental to where you are. But right now, I'm in a position where I'm not trying to take as many risks, especially not for money. It's not the position we're in now, where it's crunch time. So you need to focus on who you need in your team, period.
And Ark, I mean, obviously, you have a sort of different philosophy to this. You don't tend to necessarily look for making moves for financial reasons. I mean, is it something that you think about? I mean, what's your feeling towards sort of team value?
I've been guilty of not thinking about it whatsoever. However, I have kind of changed my approach. So even with some of the recent transfers that I've done, they have been because I've known that somebody's going to drop in value and somebody's going to rise. So there's going to be like a 0.2 swing. And because I didn't do enough preparation at the first half of the season, it means that my hand is forced in certain scenarios. So even for this double game week, I think that was the situation I had with Gyökeres, because I knew that he was about to go up 0.1 and I knew that Ekitike was about to drop. So if I didn't do the move, it would have meant that I need to spend money for it, which I've already planned probably about 5 game weeks ahead in terms of what I want to do. So it would effectively mess up my plans. I guess in reality, where it is that I've got a greater appreciation now for the fact that I do need to ensure that I've got an exit strategy with some of the assets that you bring in. And you can't be wedded to any of these assets, I guess, and think that, you're going to have them for the long term. That's where you start letting emotions ride and then you don't exit at the points where you should do. So, for instance, I know when I'm going to exit Enzo now, whereas previously at the start of the season, when I used to be taking a mickey out of Hots saying that he's like Del Boy, he's some wheeler dealer because he always wants X money. But I understand it. So to be fair, I've learned. So going forwards, and I know next year, I will definitely be looking at a number of different things. And it can still be effective now, don't get me wrong. You have to try and work out what your exit strategy is dependent on the fixture swings that you're working with, right? Because at that point, somebody's value is going to peak. Right? So, for instance, with Enzo, he's coming to the end of his fixture run. I can get out now and I've banked that 0.2 million. Whereas before I wouldn't have thought like that. And that will be useful for me, for instance, if at some point I want to go to Parma, because I'm not moving with a lot of things at the moment. I've even considered, although I don't think that he is a great asset, I have considered going back for Saka because he dropped to 9.9. I think he even dropped to 9.8. Getting Saka is, remember that we still do deal with a herd mentality, right? So Saka, he does return, he just doesn't return double digits. He returns consistently for 3-4 weeks and suddenly he'd be back up to 10.3 or whatever not. And again, it would then be ideal for me to move from him to a Palmer, for instance. But, it's the same scenario that I've got looking at Haaland. If I toy with the idea of exiting from Haaland, at the start of this month, like I would have banked a nice 0.5 million with him. Whereas now, probably not, because he's dropping in value. That said, I was still banking enough with him, and because of how much he costs as an asset in general, it will still allow me to pivot to where I want to pivot to anyway. Yeah, definitely I've lived and learned. You don't learn and live, as they say. So for that, do give kudos and a salute to Hoxford, because I've never really taken the monetary side of it into account. But definitely something on my radar now, and one of the criteria that I have when I'm moving forwards.
So, I mean, I know Hots is fired up at the start of this episode of Arsenal. It's a big weekend, and the North London derby is around the corner. That's clearly the biggest game of this game week. Tottenham haven't been in great form, but they've obviously lost their manager now. So we don't, they've got a new manager in town. How do we feel it's going to affect this particular game? How confident are we in Arsenal picking up the 3 points? And also in terms of assets, I mean, are there any assets that you feel might perform well in this game week? Ark, what are you saying?
Difficult to assess. I think Solanke will have something to prove. Our defence is doing what it's doing at the moment. So I think they will also feel they've got a point to prove. Gabriel usually, when there is a mistake that surrounded him, etc., comes back and tries to answer with a plum. I think in terms of changes around the back, I would imagine we will see Colour Ford playing, as well as Timber, etc. So it will probably be first form Arsenal, if that makes sense. But it's London derby, so I don't expect a clean sheet, but I expect a better defensive performance than I've seen from them over the past couple of weeks. And in terms of assets for the fixture, difficult one to work out, because there are many people coming back from injury as well, that he's kind of hinted that he's trying to get them primed and ready for Sunday. I think the game against Wolves, it looks like Trossard went out for concussion, which will mean he'll be out of Sunday's match. Difficult one to work out where his head is at with regards to Noni and Saka. I would imagine that the reason Saka was kept on as long as he was is because ultimately he wants to go with Saka on the right. So from that perspective, you can't look further than a Saka and a Rice from an Arsenal asset point of view. I don't think that any of the strikers are something to be looked at. Ultimately, I'm going to have to hold on to Gyökeres personally, simply because I don't want to take another minus, and I've already got a plan for what I'm going to do. But yeah, that's where I see things in terms of Middlesex. They've got a horrendous amount of injuries that they are dealing with, so it's difficult to work out what the mainstays of their team will be, or if there will be an asset from there. So I guess it will be looking at some of their defensive options that seem to score for them. But like I say, Solanke is probably the one outlet that could probably cause a problem.
I'd have to agree with that. Solanke. Okay, I'll start like this. I see and hope Arsenal win that game. I don't rate Spurs. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't think they're a good team. But I don't like how Arsenal have been moving recently in the league. I agree with that. I can see Solanke being the goal scorer. In fact, I'll go as far as saying I think he'll be that main asset from Spurs. But I do think we'll concede. I hope we don't, because if I don't take out my Arsenal double at the back, then I can't have them and not play them, so to speak. I know Ark doesn't do predictions, and we do usually, so I'm just going to say, and to be being completely honest, I've done this before when predicting when it comes to Arsenal, and sometimes mix my heart with my actual decision, but I just think maybe 2-1 Arsenal. And the reason I say 2-1 isn't because I think Spurs' defence is strong, as we heard just now. They've got a lot of defensive injuries, but defensively, in reality, Arsenal are very good. They have lapses and they make errors, but overall, the defense is solid, so I can't see them scoring many past us, and I hope not. Even though we just seen Wolves score past us twice, but attackingly is my issue when it comes to Arsenal. So whether it's Gyökeres, and some people like to point him out all the time, it's just all the attack for me. I just think in the final third, we're not convincing, and it's been like that for a very long time. I would love us to respond and go and thrash Spurs 5-1, but the way we're playing, I'll be a fool to say that, and I hope they go out there and do it. But I'll have to say 2-1. I don't see where we're going to get the goals if we're not going to be direct. But funny enough, when we played them last, it was one of our better performances. They got a new manager. People love that new manager bounce. Yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game. Especially Man City, they played before Arsenal. They win the game. I think it's going to be a real sort of challenge of Arsenal's mental fortitude for this game. It's going to be a game we have to respond, right?
A win's a must.
So it's interesting to see how we approach the game, how we set up. I'm not quite sure where our heads are at right now, and more importantly, where Arteta's head's at. But look, the reality is,
what's that got to do with FPL?
Well, I mean, in terms of assets, right? Because I think that what I would like to see Arsenal do is to recognise that Spurs are a poor team and to attack their flaws, which has been clear to see all season long. But I think that Arsenal will win the game. I think that we have more than enough quality to win this game, albeit it's a London derby, and we have to obviously respect that. Spurs will play above themselves because it is against Arsenal. I think it's a game for Captain Rice potentially to show up. I say Captain Rice because he's my captain, in my opinion. Like he's the guy that I look to drive Arsenal forward, and I think that he'll be central to good things for Arsenal. So I think he'd be a good asset to own. I think Solanke is a good shout. I don't really see anyone else in Spurs' ranks that really scare me. Simmons has been poor for me this season, but he has the quality to show up in moments. So potentially he could be a wild card. But
if you haven't got Spurs or Arsenal players, I won't put anyone in. That's the honest truth.
I'm glad you highlighted that because I don't think either team is filling themselves with glory at the moment or require you to make a 1 week punt on them. That's definitely not what we should be telling everybody else to do, because I doubt any of us will be doing 1 week punts on Arsenal or Tottenham assets. Saying that, one of the things that you were saying, Guffs, that is very true. You said that Rice could be central to it, and central is a good word because I almost slipped up. Middlesex, they usually they concede a lot centrally, but the problem that Arsenal have got is that Arsenal haven't been great centrally, which kind of goes back to one of the things that Hots mentioned before with regards to when I purchased Gyökeres, was because he had Havertz in there that was doing the quick passes, or the kind of passes that Gyökeres would want. At the moment, he's much maligned simply because he's not really getting fed, and when he is, he's up against defenders that are equally as strong as him, so it becomes difficult. So essentially, I don't think there's going to be a lot of penetration from us, and that's where they usually concede. So unless we start playing differently, as in there are a bit more transitions over the weekend, like I think they could be another, as you call it, turgid type watch. Asset-wise, like it's difficult to work out because, like I said, like clearly Madueke has played 7 games in a row now, or he started 7 in a row across all competitions. But we know what Arteta's like, and we know what he is around his favourites. I just got a feeling that we're going to see Odegaard again over the weekend. I said it last time that we were talking, that I didn't think that some of the games that we've got coming up are games to bring him back into. I wouldn't imagine that the game against Middlesex is that kind of game either. But like he's going to do what he's going to do, I guess.
This is what annoys me, innit? It's like I said, I didn't have your career, so I guess it didn't impact me FPL wise. But you got Eze, who I felt could be a good asset on the left. Some people said he's better in the centre, and I'm not saying he's like you said about Simmons, loads of the signings, even the Premiership proven ones, haven't really done much this season. But like I feel like he's had his chance to actually play. And the Wolves game was the prime time for him to play. You know, Saka's just come back. Saka's never really played as a 10 for us. And if he has, it hasn't been many times. And it's like, if you're Eze right now, and if you've got Eze in your team, that needs to be coming out this game week. Because it's clear he doesn't really want Eze to be playing there right now. There's every opportunity someone else is playing in that position. Like whether it was Odegaard, Moreno, Havertz is when he's back. So, you know, Saka, that you play 10. So even if Matter gets dropped and Saka goes out to the right, I don't anticipate Eze playing. So I think you're absolutely right, Ark. If Odegaard's fit, he'll go straight back in. Then Saka will get pushed out to the right. But if he isn't back, I reckon Saka will probably stay 10 and it might keep Matter on the right because Eze ain't going to get games. So if you've got Eze still and you're hoping he's going to get games, that's the one thing. I can't say who I'd advise you to put in, but if you've got Eze, I'd advise you to take him out.
Looking at other games this game week, a game that I find quite interesting is a Chelsea-Burnley game from an FPL standpoint. I know that lots of people have now loaded up on Palmer in their team. And obviously he's been paying off with these penalties that he's been banging in the last few game weeks. Obviously to get Palmer in your team right now, if you haven't got him, is a big ask because I'm guessing most structures are not really set up for that jump to 10.4, whatever he's at this point. Nevertheless, Chelsea at home to Burnley seems to be the key game in terms of loading up on assets against, you know, one of the weaker teams in the league. So you're obviously looking at people like João Pedro, who I've got already in my team. You're looking at Enzo. You're looking at obviously Palmer. What's your feeling? I mean, who do you think is the key asset in this game? Is it a clear case of Palmer?
Yeah, it is everything. And a few people that are triple captain as well, in order to try to have a differential away from the triple captain that will invariably be either Semenyo or Haaland in one of the double game weeks. But yeah, everything goes through Palmer. Like he's got shot and creation volume. Yeah, if there's anything that's happening, he's that guy. So yes, I think that he ultimately, as long as he's fit, he's fixture proof. He can affect the game in any way. But it's whether he's fit. I know that they've stressed a lot that he hasn't been fit all season. Looks like Liam Racina's got the propensity to play him sparingly if he needs to, which again makes it difficult to work out what to do. But as we saw against Wolves, it only takes 10 minutes and he can be 2 goals up because he's had 2 penalties. So it's what it is. But yeah, he's definitely an asset Chelsea-wise. Defensively, I still don't really see assets within them. Maybe James will be back, but I've sold him now. And like I said, I've got exit strategy for Enzo. But yeah, Pedro is also one. If people are looking and thinking about moving, I know a few people that have moved from Haaland to Pedro so that they could drop into Palmer as well.
Score prediction. Not letting you off because it's not Arsenal.
I haven't got a clue. 3-1. Burnley always get a plucky goal.
As you said, Chelsea's defence ain't great, so I think 3-1's a good shout. I'd go with that. I think Palmer, yeah, of course he's their number one. He's their penalty taker. He's back. He's their golden boy. But João Pedro's been equaling them every week. So I think he's a strong asset too. So people thinking, Palmer is going to outscore him this week. I'm not saying I wouldn't throw in Palmer or I haven't thought about throwing in Palmer. We've even contemplated minusing to get Palmer in, like I said, a few weeks down the line. But I feel better that I didn't put him in before when he actually got a hat-trick or got the goals. But Pedro is someone who has been playing 90 minutes. And when he hasn't, he's got more minutes. So it's like, those are the 2 main assets I'd have from Chelsea and probably the only 2. But yeah, 3-1, I have to agree with that one on that game.
Yeah, I think 3-1. 3-1 is 3-0. I was thinking 3-0, 3-1. That's where my head's at right now. I do think 3 is the right number for Chelsea.
Let's talk about another game then. City and Newcastle. Obviously, we mentioned City will be playing before Arsenal. Newcastle have come off the back of a good game in Europe, even though it's against Tesco bag or Carrier bag, whatever it's called. They got their goals. They, got to be, I guess, in a confident mood. Gordon got 4. Is that going to trigger him to get some goals against City? Who knows? I see him, and Trippier had a little handbags moment, but I'm not going to get into that. I think Newcastle will give City a game. But I don't think City, even though City ain't been great this season, I think they're gonna beat Newcastle. Cut long story short, I pray and hope Newcastle don't have it and can get a draw. And they're not. Look, they've had a bad season, Newcastle, but it's not impossible for them to turn up against a big team. It's not impossible. But I just don't see City trying to give us that grace, even though it might not be in their hands. I just see City winning that game, maybe 2-1, 2-0. They could get a third, so it could be another 3-1. But I just think City are not going to be messing about, and I think that they're going to get the 3 points. And yeah, that's my view.
Well, it's an interesting one because obviously Haaland is flagged yellow at the moment. So there's question marks whether or not he's going to start this game or not. My assumption is that he will be ready for the game. And I think it's just a precursory thing. But I agree with you with the scoreline. I think City will probably win this game. As Ark has said many times, Newcastle don't fare too well, when they get, anywhere outside, I'd say St James's Park there, but once they get out of Newcastle, things sort of go south for them. And obviously they've obviously put a few goals past them already in the cup competition, so they're going to feel fairly comfortable against Newcastle in terms of how they're set up. So I think Man City will win this game. I think Semenyo is a dangerous asset to have this game week again. He's the one that I'm worried about. I don't own Semenyo, and he's been, even in games when he hasn't scored goals, he's missed chances in this game. So he's the one to watch for me. In this game week. But yeah, I think 3-1.
There's only one game that he's played that he ain't scored, So,
there you go.
That's right, yeah.
So yeah, I think 3-1 Man City feels the right score for me.
It's funny because you said that Newcastle lost a lot of games to City, right? And it makes me think sometimes when it happens, you think that's got to change at some point. I'm still going to stand by what I said. I'm not going to change it, but maybe after beating Asda bag, Newcastle might just
man's going for all the bags, yeah.
Well, it's a carrier bag, innit? It could be a happy shopper, it could be whatever bag, but it's a carrier bag nevertheless. But
happy shopper,
yeah, the old school. But literally. Look, I'm actually thinking. This is what I mean. I sometimes think what I want to happen more than what I believe will happen. I'm going to change my prediction and say Newcastle draw. What's your opinion?
City going to win.
Believe me if you believe me, audience. But
yeah. City will win. It is what it is. Writing's on the wall in terms of the lead up to us playing them in the final and also in the league. Another game that I was looking at was Forest v Liverpool. Yeah, interesting because obviously Forest fighting for their life. I would imagine that was the hope we bring in the guy that used to be at Wolves. It's such a merry-go-round, that whole scenario. I wonder if he regrets getting rid of Nuna, but who knows. That said, Forest, they concede a lot on right side overloads. So I reckon that this match might be one for Salah if anybody has got him as an asset or are thinking about pivoting away from Haaland to someone else. Yeah, their left side channel, from all the different research that I've been doing and also the eye test, it's clear. They concede a lot in transition as well, from a volume point of view, which kind of lets Ekatike really be that asset. I don't have him, but he is a volume guy. I've always said that. He's not the most efficient, but use volume, and if he gets enough, like he'll put some away. So I feel like Liverpool win that game. I think Liverpool have been playing quite well over the past 6, for instance. Like, yes, they have defensive issues and things like this, but in terms of that fluidity and them trying and looking as though they're in greater control than they have been, that has been the. Is there an asset Forest-wise that I would look at in this game? No, outside of what we know. So Elliot Anderson, obviously he does what he does. He will always get DEFCON. You kind of guaranteed your base with him. So you wouldn't get rid of him if you've got him, but you wouldn't buy him this week. It would not be the fixture for you to get your entry point on. But outside of him, there isn't anybody Forest-wise that screams, have a look at me. There's no about to pop data for any of their attackers either.
Yeah, I think Elliot Anderson is really the only one I'll look at as well from Forest. And I think this is a game where he will get those DEFCON points purely because he's going to be doing a lot of defensive actions this game, right? Liverpool would have most of the ball, you would have thought, and he's going to be obviously making or trying to make a lot of interceptions and tackles and stuff. So you'd expect that he's going to get that as a minimum. But as it's been through a long part of this year, he's always getting his 3 to 4 points, but not much more than those points. For Liverpool, I think what's helped them is the fact they've had so many injuries, particularly in attacking areas. They've kind of had to play the first, those 3 or 4 guys consistently. And I think they've now got a bit of synergy up top now, right? They've got, Gakpo's has to play on the left-hand side because of the injury issue. Ekatike has to play.
Let's play over there and
Versus tends to play, in where he wants to play in that 10 pocket, right? And they play
Soboslai where he's tended to play, but you said he has to. He doesn't have to play there.
Yeah, but I mean, because they haven't got the sort of the array of options off the bench, he's kind of settled on a set 4 at the front with now Salah's back, Salah's on the right, Ekatike, Verts in the 10, and Gakpo on the left.
Isak will do that soon as well.
So I think that's helped them kind of get a bit of harmony within sort of the attacking quartet. Verts has obviously been very good since the turn of the year. I think he's got 6 goals and 10 assists now. So he's sort of feeling himself now going forward. So he's someone that's worth looking at. And I agree. I think Salah is someone to watch out for. He played very well in the FA Cup game the other day and looked sort of, I won't say back to his best, but he was showing some signs that he's kind of got his legs back a little bit. So, yeah, I think Liverpool will win this game. I can see it being potentially 2-0 Liverpool. I don't think Forest have really the kind of players to hurt Liverpool at the back and expose what's been a weak era for Liverpool. So I'm going to go for Liverpool 2-0.
I'll go 2-1. Liverpool's defence is a bit weak. Doesn't matter who's playing against it. Anyone can score past him. They could get a clean sheet, but they could easily concede 1-2. So I'll say 2-1. I agree Liverpool win. Yep, they've been in decent form. Bert's probably been their standout player. Salah, looking a bit better, still ain't doing nothing. Start of Ramadan. So Ramadan might have an impact on his progression. It's going to have an impact on all the Muslim players in the league. So there's something for people to think about. For example, Ouattara. Last season during Ramadan, he was benched a lot. He didn't really start through Ramadan for a good few games. I know he's at a different club now. I know they probably do the water breaks, etc. But I just think if you're got Muslim players in your team, keep an eye on that too, because obviously Ramadan was officially started. We'll sort of work out whether. So obviously you both mentioned Salah, so I'm just not going against it, but I'm just pointing out something that other people may not have thought about. Is he going to continue progressing, or is it going to be hampered by him waking up early in the morning, etc.?
But by the way, where are those random stats that you had for that? You say he's got 6 and 10.
I think he's got 6
or
goals.
Did you say he's got 6 in 10? Well, what was it?
I think he's got 6 goals across all competitions this season, hasn't he?
So you're saying 6 in the last 10, but not that he's got 10.
No.
Okay. I'll let you off then.
When you say all competitions, because it's FPL, that's what threw me. But I was going to allow it.
Well, I think generally his form
allow it.
his form was picked up during since the turn of the year, right? And yes, some of the goals he has scored has been in other competitions, but I think that he's been able to bring that form into the league, and quite clearly he's one of the better players right now, right? And he seems to be a player to watch out for. He's at a weird price point though, so you know.
I just had to check his stats. If it's bait, I had to look away quickly. And 4 league goals, 3 assists. So FPL wise,
He's right.
he has been their best asset recently for me. But yeah, just to make sure it's clear that it's 4 and 3 in total in the league this season.
So that leads us nicely onto the next section, which is captain choices. Interesting game week. Where your head's at? I mean, Ark, start with you, I guess. Do you have a strong choice this game week? What are you feeling right now?
It depends on who I transfer in, to be fair. But in reality, I'm probably going to need to go with one of my old faithfuls in Haaland. For me personally, if I look at the overall assets that are out there for the game week, then pretty much I've talked about it. I've put a few things out as well recently online. Palmer is the obvious choice because he's playing against Burnley. I do think that Salah may do well against Nottingham Forest because of where they concede defensively. You've also got from a wildcard pick, I guess, you could be looking at Thiago because Brighton are so volatile, but they are better at home than they are away. Then you've even got some left-wing choices, I guess, from a Rodgers point of view. He's playing Leeds at home. We know that Villa they're strong when they're at home, even though defensively we know that can cause a problem. But remember, from an FPL point of view, we don't need to be concerned about that. It's whether Rodgers is actually going to put something away or get an assist. Those are the 3 I would look at. Obviously, Bruno gets mentioned, but I'm not so sure that them away to Everton is as easy a fixture as it could be for you to push for him to be a captain. Like, he'll get the minutes and so on, but whether it is that he'll affect that game, I haven't looked into it too deeply. But yeah, my 3 choices, I guess, I'd be looking at Palmer, Haaland and Salah.
Well, there's a lot of captain choices mentioned there. So I'll say Semenyo, because I don't think he was mentioned. Haaland, even though he's yellow, he looked like he was hungry for goals in the last game that he played. In whatever 45 minutes he played or whatever it was. So he could be a potential good captain. Not everyone will probably go for him. People might still be going against him, so it might be a good time to have him. But yeah, Semenyo was an alternative because City, as we said, I think they're going into that game looking at the league and saying, we want to put Arsenal under pressure, get 2 points behind them. So let's see if they can actually do that. I think Rodgers, as Ark said, is a good one. I think Leeds' defence concede, but Leeds is a good team, so they could score back. That was he said. I think Rodgers, Palmer, Haaland, and like I said, to throw someone different in Semenyo.
Yeah, I think those are the obvious choice you could say this game week. Haaland rightfully has got the best projected points this game week. The one player which both of you didn't mention, which I'm probably going to captain this game week because I'm going to go a little bit against the curve this game week, is Munoz. I think I'm going to go Munoz this week. They're at home against Wolves. I know Wolves scored 2 against Arsenal, but their actual attack all year long has been pretty poor in the main. They've been shocking on the road as well. And the game that Palace played against Burnley, which they eventually lost 3-2, I know people might say, well, they let 3 goals against Burnley, but that game was a really strange game. And it was interesting to me to sort of see Munoz's stats for that game. I think he got something like 1.6 XGI in that game. or expected goals, which is higher than the whole entire.
What is strange about the game, which leads you to think that he's an asset that could be catapulted.
Because
Creator, obviously.
So watching that, anyone that watched that game or saw the highlights would have seen that he had a number of opportunities, and on any given day would have resulted in goals or assists. Two in particular, which were basically was essentially open goals, which Palace didn't convert. So I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, we're playing against Wolves, who are the worst team in this league. You're at home. We know Munoz gets forward. We know he's good for offensive stats, and
not a bad choice.
And there's potential.
Are you going to do it though? Is this something that you've decided you're doing?
I'm 100%? Doing this. I'm going Munoz this game week.
Okay. I actually think that's a good choice. He's a good differential this week, and no one mentioned him. And the fact that you've confirmed you're 100% going with him, good luck. Genuinely, it's a good shout, good move. Obviously, I've got him in my team, so if he does deliver for you, I'll get half of that. So it's actually a good. It's a good move now because as much as Wolves have just come back off scoring 2 past Arsenal, and Palace's defence hasn't been the greatest until recently. I think Wolves did what they did against Arsenal, but not necessarily going to continue doing that for the rest of the season, and might be put back to reality home to Palace. So I think it's a sensible move. And like I said, I'm not sure who I'm captaining because it's about going against right now. And I'm not going to copy you, don't worry, but that is I did think Munoz did a lot in the last game. It's just a shame he didn't do it when I put him in the mug. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the league table this week has not a huge amounts changed, I think. At this point, we're all just obviously scrapping, trying to get as high as we can in the league table. So that's a better really at this stage. But as we kind of close in now to the game week 38, it's really important now that you kind of make the right moves, get your team in good shape. Obviously, I've made my wildcard change, so the next few game weeks are really geared towards trying to ensure that I can get my team in relatively good shape so I can conserve some of my assets and my chips.
I've got a question for you.
Go on.
So, obviously, as you said, let's talk about the overall mini league better. But out of the three of us, since you've had your win, draw, win, are you still bottom? Or because obviously...
yeah, I'm still bottom. I mean, the reality is that even though I've won 2, won 2 and drawn 1, the gains on both of you guys haven't been great. It's only been a few points. So,
I don't just mean points wise. I mean in the actual table amongst us.
Yeah, he's still bottom.
Because
yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I came in and just made sure I knew. I generally didn't. I couldn't. No, fair enough.
For Mr. Cat in the middle.
But yeah.
Fairs.
Game week 26. Done. Again, please, people, like, subscribe, get involved.
This guy. That was the funniest end. Done like that, yeah. Is that what I would say, is that if you get another
for the guy moments, that's what I would say.
Say that again?
He needs to stop these penny for the guy moments. He already asked him to subscribe, bro.
That's what we're here for. We're here to try to
2-3 times in the same episode,
Why not?
We're premium, we're exclusive. I'm a deal, you're done, innit?
Win a game week and then you can decide how many times.
Look at this guy. He just explained to you. You're still bottom. You're still struggling. You're far enough behind me though, because you're looking up. Yeah, you are.
Okay.
Like we can bring the stats up if you want.
Listen. Yeah,
I'm not listening, but I'm telling you, you're bottom. Anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, indeed. All right, peeps. Have a good one. Good luck for next week. Bless. I'm out.
Truth be told, when I wonder what the future holds,